All right, folks, we have the team for Field Ops here. If it is your first time speaking, just say your name and your title just for the record, and then we look forward to hearing from you all. So we'll pass it up to you all to get us started. And we have until about 1:45. If you need extra time, we can definitely dedicate that to you all.
Yep. Where do you guys want to start? Is there any place specific? Yeah, sure. Mike Dryden, Director of Field Operations.
Andy Elliott, Chief Office Administrator, Field Ops.
Shane M. Schweller, Assistant Director of Field Operations.
Jake Pavlik, Director of Food Operations.
Thank you all.
Yeah, exactly.
Within field operations, there's several different accounts.
Yes.
So they're a little bit all over the place within the org, so we can look at the different divisions. That's typically how they're split up. If you look at what the additional essential item requests are, there weren't very many that were funded through field operations, but we can talk a little bit about the actual org accounts. And one of the items we were going to talk about, since we brought it up this morning, was trash fees, tipping fees, and kind of the sanitation division specifically. Also, there was an evolution, a continued evolution in our field operations team within traffic. So some of the transportation dollars have shifted from DID into traffic. So they are now managing a lot of the transportation dollars under their traffic team. So you'll see some big shifts in some of the capital numbers. They now manage the concrete and the construction accounts and the street paving under their team, underneath traffic and carry.
All over the place.
I think that's a pretty good
Yeah,
good starting point there.
Just give us the number. So we can find it.
Yes, just let us know whatever the org account and where we can start, wherever you want to start, and then we'll, again, like I said, we'll follow your lead.
let me have that one. Yeah, we can start with the traffic, 22,000, I'm sorry. Do you want to go down each individual item?
Anything you want to highlight within the 22,000 account that was a major change that you think would want to bring some attention to that? But again, we asked everybody to do flat budgeting minus what was approved and as an essential item, which you got an additional spreadsheet on that. But if there's any major variances between the accounts, I want to explain what.
I mean, the biggest thing that you touched on was just the funds from DID coming over to help with our traffic manager position. So that's come over to help facilitate that position. Other than that, our traffic department's going to stay the same, Jake. I mean, as we're doing a level budget, everything's just copy and paste. So we're just moving along with that, keeping everything as is, just that small update as far as positions go. If there's any questions with that, we can continue to just keep moving.
I didn't see that on the salaries for 2,200, that one increased, but I didn't see are you unfreezing a position, or are you adding a position there?
No, we're not.
Maybe I'm looking at the wrong.
That is one of the shifts of a position.
Right.
So
Okay.
I believe Sam Phillips on our team was underneath transportation, so we've moved him to a different
Okay.
account. So it's
Gotcha.
funded here and funded here. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm just, all I'm looking at is this increase. I didn't know that. Thank you for highlighting that. Okay.
Nope. And I'll continue to keep moving. If there's any
That's fine.
questions,
Yep.
I'm just going to go through each division so we can just keep going.
Perfect.
Again, right now I'm looking at our streets department. It's 22,100. Same thing. Nothing's changing there as far as how we've been operating this past year.
Is that going to change from traffic DID to? Is that gonna
Yeah,
be,
the traffic in that.
Okay.
That is in that. Yep.
perfect.
Sorry.
Thank you.
That is moving over to us.
Thank you.
Continuing on, resource management, 30,000. I think the only thing in that was the CDO bonus. But that no longer exists anymore. We're just doing it for this last position that we had. Other than that, we're going to go ahead and just stop doing that. So we have one more employee that will be receiving that.
Buildings. What is that? And there's a slight bump in that. What was the? What's the bump there? Let's line item 534301.
Looking at the wrong one.
No, we took the money out of cell phones.
Almost 40.
Renovated.
Oh, yeah, so we just moved money around for renovations within that's our
Level funding.
kind of our main budget within our director, so we just moved some money around to do some remodeling inside of our office space.
Is that the one on,
Mac Ave?
yes?
Yep.
And Mr. Kitzrow, that was part of, with some ARPA funds we moved around, correct? Is that still allocated for?
There is. There's a bigger, different conversation at some point. I guess it is budget conversation. So the fleet building.
Next year's budget, no.
Well, our fleet building, we had allocated a couple $1 million to redo our fleet building. That's our mechanics garage shop. We originally funded that a couple years ago and have been working with the railroad and trying to work on some right-of-ways. We finally got a final construction projection of the original bid, and we were around $8 million, not $2 million. So I won't say we're going back to the drawing board, but we were definitely looking at a different way to do that, more of a value engineering, maybe reusing the existing building in a unique capacity.
I think we'll be successful in pulling that building off. It's just, I don't know where that $8 million came from, but, yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, so we're still working on some of that capital stuff, but yeah.
Great, thank you.
All right, moving on, I'm going to go into sanitation, collection disposal 32061. Same thing, just level budget, just same as last year, nothing exciting changing there.
Mike, real quick, if we want to go back up to 31,150.
Yeah.
What I was mentioning, if you look at 31,150, 534, 318, you'll see an $850,000 increase. That's what I was mentioning. That is this transition of the street repairs into their paving, into their purview out of DID. So that's where you see that significant increase for that. And then that is also included in another line item for curb and gutter at $75,000. That is, you'll see it you're tracking on our CIP, that's the $925,000. It just moved into their responsibility. So we didn't increase their budget by $1 million. We just moved it from one org to a different org, which they're now responsible for instead of DID.
Yes. Since you are here, can we, and again, bring it way down, street maintenance, what is that?
As far as how we maintain our city streets?
Street maintenance, what is, so I'm trying to ask it in a very general sense, so.
Yeah, go ahead.
What does it include, what does it encompass?
So it's pothole repair, curb and gutter, things of that, anything that's going to make a street.
A little slower, because I got it. I know I'm asking, but because we, and again, when we're talking about putting funding into neighborhood infrastructure, we want to make sure we dial this in, and you all know we've been getting a lot of calls and about potholes, and I want to make sure that I know where and what is going on, so bring it a little slower. We got potholes?
Potholes are part of street repair. I mean, there's a lot of things. Potholes are a major part, curb and gutter, sidewalk. I can put all that in there, really.
So specifically for that account, that $850,000 account where it says street maintenance, that's the title, that is going to be for paving, potholes. It's going to be our paving contractor. Some of that is additional sealing.
Thank you.
What is the other?
Striping.
Striping.
And different, is that bump outs, is it different from, I know in in Waterworks budget, they also have some streets, some curb and some street.
Yeah, so if you look at on that sheet, if
That's
you go
why
up about.
there's money all over in the same titles, so I just want to.
Yeah.
And
If you go up 2 lines up just above that,
you got it.
in the 534307 says
Curb and
curb gutter, that's your sidewalks.
Okay.
That's your ADA ramps.
Yes.
That's your curb. That's so $75,000 in concrete, and then the $850,000 what I'll call asphalt. Essentially, those are the 2 buckets.
Thank you. Yep.
So how does the neighborhood, that 1 million that was good for neighborhood infrastructure, is that in addition to this?
Correct.
Well, it's the same number. The 800,000 is in the field ops budget, but it's the capital, it's for the street repair.
Would it be an additional line item under field ops? Or it'd just be money sitting in an account and we would just do a budget amendment to put that?
Good question. So typically, if it's a CIP bonded project, it would fall into a project account. So it would be not restricted to a singular year, but it could have this similar purpose. Does that make sense?
It does, but then I got a little more gray now, because,
Okay.
keep going.
Okay, so we have, and I emailed it to you guys, but we can bring it up at the end of the day if you want to. So we have a a street repair model that we are showing, and every year we essentially budget about $800 to $1 million in paving to increase our conditions of our streets. We are falling behind because we probably should be doing about $1.5 million a year. So in the mayor's budget, he is proposing an additional $1 million to essentially the stuff that has been backlogged to try to take another bite out of the stuff. We're still working off of FY22, FY23 streets that we wanted to repair, so we're still in the rear, so we're trying to do a catch-up. So it's the same money, it's just funded differently. This is cash. This is actually like pay-go cash using highway user revenues. His proposal is using bonded debt to get ahead of our backlog of street repairs,
Gotcha.
which also includes potentially curb and gutter, street lights, et cetera. Yep.
I think you just answered my question, but so why not, and I know you mentioned earlier, Mayor, about training the budget, so why not increase the budget slightly here, then bring that $1 million down? I know that we're bonding for that, for those funds, but can we do that to try to train? Because with this, we're not really training the budget per se, because this line item is not increasing. All we're doing is putting money in this account. Of course, it's allocated, but the budget is still, next year when we look at this, it's still going to say 850. As in years prior, we got the 850 for the 2025, and I'm sure, years prior, so.
We're open to go from 850 to $1,050,000 next year, and the year after that go to $1,250,000, so that we can get more back on track with where we should be. This $1 million just kind of buys us a 4 or 5 year ramp-up time, so we can do it now, and then we can ramp up into it.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
No, and I don't want to.
Hey,
Can someone help me out? So if we're trying to train the budget, why not make the line item mimic what you're trying to do?
I don't know that we're trying to train the budget. I think
You said it earlier, that's one of the reasons why I'm saying, you say you want to make sure you train the budget, because in the previous administrations, they weren't allocating the funds, so, and that's what I want to do. I want to make sure that so when another council's looking, or mayor and council looking in this 10 years from now, or 5 years from now, they're able to say, okay, we can see where the trend was going, but if we put this $1 million for something that is this big, and that, that is, very prudent, we're not really setting them up for success, because they're just going to see this $1 million, which is good, and we're going to fill that in, but we're not necessarily putting this into the actual budget. This isn't a budgeted item that's going to see year over year in any department. Does that make?
this is a one-time. Maybe I misunderstand what you're asking.
Does it?
Historically, we've decreased that line item in
Okay.
the past in order to try to balance the budget and to get other things. So it's like we need to add a little bit more to it each year, but I think what the mayor was trying to do was the 1 million additional was to try to catch up for the.
Catch up, yeah, that's what I thought, too.
Behind, and then start increasing it a little bit each year, but the 1 million would catch us up for the few years that we fell behind. The additional $1 million would catch us. Does that make sense?
I think it's fair to say that we're more than $1 million down over the last 3 or 4 years. So this $1 million isn't all we need, but at least it catches us up on major ones.
And I'm not negating that. I'm in agreement, but I'm just saying, for the budget's sake, when we look at this next year, we're going to say, okay, the budget is $850,000 what we went to last year, as we funded it, and then we're going to say the actuals or whatever is going to be $850,000. And so, but we're going to this $1 million. Where is that going to go? Where are we going to see that to be able to set us up for success 5 years from now?
I understand what you're saying. I know exactly what you're
It's
saying, but I
accounting.
think I'm going to try to, yeah, exactly. So the $1 million will be a recurring debt of about $100,000 a year.
Yes.
But I can't take $1 million in cash right now and do it. So I can borrow against it, so I am paying me later scenario with that $1 million. We found it appropriate to go ahead, instead of doing the $100,000 that I'll pay in debt service over the next 15 years, it was something that was easier to absorb in our budget than to just do $100,000 in cash, because $100,000 in cash is only going to get me this far when the $1 million can get me this far. So yes, we are paying in the future for that borrowing, but instead of going and making this $950 in cash, we'd only have done $100,000 worth of more paving. So we made the decision to go bonded debt on project-based rather than going cash, because it could go further. We'll be paying on it longer, but it's easier to do it that way. There's two different ways you could do it. We just decided.
In 4 years, someone's going to have to increase this from 850 to 1.3.
Sure.
That's all
Yep.
and I'm just, and in 4 years, they're going to say, why didn't they do that? And this is going to be the answer, is that this was the best way. That's all I was getting to, is I want to make sure we're setting our cities.
It's the most affordable way right now.
Doing it in increments, right?
What? No.
Yeah, we will be doing, that's the idea. We will be doing it, but this is, again, a catch-up. It's kind of,
So let's play it forward. So technically, we won't spend the 850. We'll articulate what we think we need to catch up on, spend the $1 million in 2026.
Right.
And then next year, we'll hopefully have $1,050,000, meaning of new allocation, with no catch-up payment, and we'll keep on trying to go down the road and stay ahead of it. But within that 18-month period, we will have spent $2.8 million versus,
Yes.
$1.6 million.
Is that million coming from those grants from the, no, that's a whole different pot. Okay, I'm not going to cross wires then, thank you. No, but thank you, because I was thinking, for some reason, it was the same thing.
yeah, so let's talk about our past, go to the future. So if
Okay.
that number last year, let's say it was supposed to be 850 every year for the last 5 years, and if we at the end of the day said, all right, instead of it being 850, let's make it 650, well, I just lost 200. And then the next year we do is 850, we budget 650. So now I'm behind $400,000. This million is buying us all of those cuts we made in the last several years, essentially trying to get all of that so we're caught up on our actual schedule that has fallen behind. So it is a catch-up payment.
I get that. I know. I
You
was
need to
looking
say-
forward.
okay.
Because I know someone's going to say, why are we going from 850 to 1.8?
Yeah,
Because the next year we're going to go, well, we don't really need to put that 1.05 there, because we put $1 million, and I'm already,
saying, yeah.
but when that time happens, I'll say, or that council, they'll look at us and I'll say, but I was just trying to set us up for success. If we're trying to train the budget, I think we've had years of,
Seen.
and you've said to try to shrink the budget, and I know what we're going to do, and that's doing an infusion, but this line item is going to increase, and that's why I wanted to ask that very detailed, because our streets are at a grave point right now. So I know this number is going to drastically increase. So I was just trying to make sure I spend a little bit more time asking about that, because it's been a topic of concern. So thank you all for that, for entertaining that 10 minutes of asphalt curb gutter and all that.
Are we good to continue then?
Yes, please.
Sanitation Division, 32061. Just, again, same thing. Anything you see, we just move to, I think one of the major ones was medical, just moving it to balance it. Huh? Yeah, do you want us to bring tipping fees up now, Andy?
Yeah, maybe, we talked a little bit of history, but it is something that is a hot topic with our trash fee increases and what we are dealing with. So Jake or Mike, whoever wants to take
Go ahead and
that.
touch on it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're, currently our tipping fees right now are at
We sit around 700,000.
700. They're going to be projected. It's right now, what is it monthly though? It's 73, 76. It's going to go up to 88 in July, and then predicted to go up even higher in tipping fees for all of our city trash. It goes to the landfill, and we pay these tipping fees for that purpose. I think you all are aware of that. So they're going to increase, so we have to plan ahead for this so that we're not caught without the correct amount of money to cover this. So like Jake just said, we're anticipated a $700,000 increase.
So we're looking at,
Or is it-
I think roughly right now, we sit
There's
around
three-
700. We're looking at 1.1 million.
Altogether.
Which?
What line item?
Yes.
Okay, so great. If you look on 32061, 55506. So I think it's a couple things that are important to note if you look at the history of that in the current. So when we budgeted In 2025, we budgeted 673, but we actually ended up with 697 in 2024 because we ended up producing more, but then there was also an increase that happened in tipping fees, which we are currently dealing with right now. So we will be above that 673 when we close out FY25. So the real number at current rates is probably more like the 766 if there is no rate increases beyond the $76 per ton. So on top of that 766, if their rates do go to 88 or to $100, there will be additional what we are projecting go from $73 to 77. That 77 may not be enough or won't be enough to cover that additional increase that if the county does end up adopting a higher rate increase for tipping fees, which I know is currently being proposed. The reason why their rate increases, not to speak for them directly, is they're filling up their trash cells too fast, and they're having to figure out how to pay for the accumulation of trash at a faster cycle. They're costing more money, and they're filling up faster. So they are passing on that cost because it's an enterprise fund onto the user, which we are one of those users. So we're trying to work through ways of potentially, having a government rate or something that won't be as high, so we won't see any fee increases, but it is one of those fees that I feel that if it's something that we are a pass-through, so I'm not sure if the rest of the budget, it's appropriate to pick up the tipping fees if they keep going up. It's more of this is what it costs to collect trash because we are having to pay it.
And as bad a news that is, if you look at us relative to our competitors or what would be our competitors like Shore Disposal, we are far, far cheaper. So we are providing a service, although it's very cumbersome and expensive for us to operate. We do a good job at it when we have trucks that run, and we've got those. But at the end of the day, I think we're still saving our citizens a lot of money. So,
How much did you say it was possibly going to end up being?
So from my understanding, right now, the rate is $76 per ton. It is being proposed on July 1st to go to $88 per ton, and then another incremental increase of $100 per ton next January. So when we started off FY25, it was $67 a ton, and then that went to $76 this past January. We did not budget for that increase alone, so we've had to transfer money, and so us going from 73 to 77 gets us from 67 to 76. So we're essentially paying for what the increase that has already happened. We're just now getting our budget to caught up to that. So if it goes from 76 to 88, there's more money that needs to
Right, that's what
be
I'm
added.
saying.
Yeah.
What do we think it'll end up at?
I don't know. You want to go to county council meeting and tell them not to?
I suspect
increase
I mean,
it?
I'd like to tell them that I pay taxes too, so, there's that, we could have that tax differential conversation again too, so.
So is that this number here, this
Yeah, we had to project based on the rate.
Saying.
Okay, so I guess I'll turn back to you all, because I have a projection here of 1 point, that's what you were saying, just at about a 1.05 versus the 766.
Yeah, so we didn't, because they have not adopted their budget as a county. They are still deciding, because they're just like you all, you get to determine what the rate schedule is going to be. If the county council says, sorry, that is just too high, I understand you put it in your budget, Madam Executive, but we're just not going to allow that to happen. Then it's not a realized number. But there will be, if that ends up getting adopted by the county as their official rate, and we are not given any consideration for being a government partner or a nonprofit rate, and we have to pay $88 or even $100, we will be having to have a conversation with you between now and October to say, like, look, we either have to absorb this cost in our general fund, or we need to move further above whatever the rate is that we end up adopting to offset that additional expenditure. So it is I didn't want to budget I didn't think it was appropriate to budget $1.1 million because we don't know exactly what's going to be adopted. So we weren't going to come in here with an $85 trash rate as because that's not real yet, but it could become real. Good.
I'm suspecting the county council will slow it down a little bit, but
I think we should add the county as one of these discussion points, because this is like the fifth or sixth point, and I'm actually being serious. I mean, this is the fifth or sixth point where, the county is directly influencing our budget, and we have no answer, and we're just playing guess or
Every-
clue to,
Every single year.
oh my goodness.
I'd love to add this to our discussions either later today or
Yeah,
tomorrow.
Can
Yep.
we add this later on, and I mean, thank you for this here. Can I keep this, or do you have an electronic copy of this?
I do.
Can you, do you mind if he sends that to
Please,
council?
yeah.
Yeah, can you send that to all council, that way we have that? This is good, here. Whew, well, it's not good, but that's, we appreciate the math that you did there. Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to see.
Andy, you want me to touch on anything else sanitation related at this point?
Yeah, you guys know, we were fortunate enough to be able to fund some vehicles in the past, which was great. We are still, we don't really have any backups because all of our backups broke last year. You remember when that happened? Let's not repeat that. So knock on wood right now, if we don't fund anything else and anything was to go down and get repaired, we will be behind the eight ball where we may would have to use a third party
Is that,
in a different capacity. So we did not fund any sanitation trucks in this year's
no,
budget.
no, but did we fund any, addition, was that was,
They had other vehicles, yeah.
no, but the funding for, when we had to outsource?
Yeah, we are not thinking that's going to happen, so that is not
I
something
didn't think
we've.
it did last year, so I'm just,
Correct, we are, everything is working right now, so I hear what you're saying. We did not.
That's humiliating and
can I
embarrassing.
hear from you? Where are we with the current status of our vehicles, and knowing that we're 3 years out from any new vehicles?
As we move forward, we have to purchase trash trucks annually. That's how
Yeah.
I look at it, because it's,
Yeah,
the lifespan of a trash truck is 7 years. We're picking up 39,000 cans, give or take,
Sure.
a week. We're going to need them because there's a lot of moving parts on our side loaders, rear loaders. That means we need more bodies.
when's the last time we ordered
We bought 2 side loaders. We got them last year.
but that brought us back up to
That
speed?
put us back to where we are, where we needed to be. Yeah.
Three.
But yeah, two side loaders and one rear.
Nevertheless, we're at, right?
Yeah, in order for us to function properly, we need, and I've said it before, A team, B team. I need my backup trucks, and I need so I can alternate, switch them back and forth throughout the summer. Summertime's when we have the most repairs because of hydraulic lines blowing. But just the wear and tear, daily use on these trucks, it's a lot. So
Give me a roundabout price for one of the trucks.
brand new one, we're looking at $500,000.
Okay, can you buy pre-owned, or can you?
We can buy pre-owned, and we've
What's-
looked at that.
I'm looking at them right now. We're
Okay.
gonna-
And
we find them on sale.
Here, we'll give you the.
And that's a serious conversation that we've had.
No, it's a backup.
How many,
There's a warranty.
No, I mean, can we,
Is there a
we're
coupon
having this
code,
discussion
or-
now. What's a promo code? What's a pre-owned,
What did we buy the last one for that we just
two
bought?
something?
Do something.
We could, yeah, I mean, it depends, 2, 3, 4, whatever. It all depends on mileage, wear and tear, what kind of trash
Sure.
truck we're talking about.
Council, do we want to put that to discussion and add that to the list
Yeah.
to have
Didn't you just say that one new is how much?
5?
About $500,000.
$500,000.
But we're gonna go pre-owned, we're gonna go a couple years.
We really need them, because last year, it was humiliating.
Can you add that?
Well, I think we're talking about, we already have 3 new ones right
Well,
now.
I understand that, but
But
we
if we
don't
buy
want to
one
get in that
used backup-
situation again.
No.
Where if 1 or 2 of them break down, because as he said, 7 years uses, and as much as they're using them,
It's our oldest one. How old is it? It's coming up on 20 years.
It's only last 7. Ah, it's it.
Exactly. There you go.
If she's given us 4 times.
I've added
yeah.
it to our list.
You added it, okay, yeah.
That's what I say,
You can run it real.
and it's man-made, so, nothing lasts forever.
That's it.
Top of the list.
I wish they did.
Anything else that you wanna touch? No,
I think-
because, when I say that was a very rough time for our citizens, for you all, for the department, and we couldn't even outsource because, I mean, no one had the capacity. We even tried to go out, and we barely got a truck from, I think, was it Berlin?
Berlin.
Which, again, town of Berlin, we appreciate you all, but, that
Berlin Republic.
was a
Republic Health
rough,
as well.
that was a rough time, and
Absolutely was.
so,
And we can't do that anymore with CBAs.
we can't, what?
With unions, we're not picking up trash and throwing it in the front end loaders anymore. That's not going to happen. So we need to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's not going to work.
I think I still have the ring camera footage from that.
In Kenya.
Oh, my lord. Yeah, okay. My goodness.
Here's one,
Councils and Kansas.
2022, 25-yard, 269.
Gotcha. What's the Carfax say on that one?
Carfax.
Three
Yeah,
accidents.
yeah,
Just 3 accidents.
Yeah, just 3.
No.
Yeah, just
It's a backup. It's a backup.
Did you already buy it?
salvage title.
But we just bought it. We just swiped the credit.
Yeah, we just swiped it. Yeah, salvage title. Yeah, okay, gotcha. No, all
Again,
right.
as we talk about, to get serious again, as we talk about fire or sanitation and operations where you really can't have things in the shop.
Yeah.
You have a front line, and then you want to have a back line.
Yeah.
It can have more miles on it, it can be used, but to lose the ability to have operations for 2 weeks, 2 days, we have one rear packer, so that's for the narrower roads, that can work. So if that goes to the shop, we have a broken down one that doesn't come out of second gear, that just is like rolling. So you don't use that one either. So we don't really have a backup. The side loaders we have a little bit of flexibility, not much, with the backup. But like as we replace the ambulances, you have your backup, so you have an extra engine in reserve, and the fire. Not having sanitation trucks even available, or even just rotating them out so you get a little bit of a breather. So we don't have to have all brand new shiny, but not having a secondary one with the street I live on, they're not getting a side loader down my road on Parsons. They're not getting in some of these narrower streets. So then it's either we're going without trash pickup for a week, or we're paying a third party to do that. So it's something we do need to have a more detailed conversation on.
Thank you for, seriously, that's, Anything else? We love to, we appreciate hearing from you all, and like I said, I think that typically conversation is one we're going to have later on today, as well as the truck situation. Anything else that we should know about or need to know about?
The only thing, you'll see it in a couple weeks. It's not necessarily specific to them, but we had been training our overtime budgets collectively for one snowstorm, not 3 Armageddon snowstorms a year. So we did not increase our overtime budget to deal with the storms that we got this year, because in the last 3 years we had 0, and this year we had 3. But that's an expensive cost, so we did not change our overtime to cover that, but it is a 3X, and most of our snow removal is done by this team over here. So we didn't increase that budget. We were able to figure out how to find it, but there's going to be coming to council next month will be a budget amendment, because we were just out of money because of the 3 snowstorms. But we did not budget that, because it was, we feel like this past year was an anomaly rather than the standard. But if all of a sudden we start having this happen every year,
Sure.
then we will need to train our budgets accordingly to pay for this additional snow removal.
Listen, the ice caps are melting, so I don't know where that's going, but that brings up a real conversation also on and knowing that we had the snowstorms and we just had the weather that we did, and then the trash situation. Have you all kind of discussed some retention and some? I know that there's the wage conversation with the unions, but any sort of, just to make sure that our the field ops personnel, they are, I think the hours that they work, and just that department as well, making sure that we're taking care of them, and just the retention there. Overtime, that's one thing, but incentivizing to make sure that we are keeping and we're retaining personnel.
Yeah, it's very important to me.
And so
Yeah.
Is there?
We have to, we've got an atmosphere of field operations that we've created, that our staff are excited about their work. They so far are sticking around, and we need every single body that we can get.
Yeah.
And so I think we have a great thing going on over there. It's
Okay.
been working
I
pretty
know we're not increasing personnel, so I'm just saying, is there?
We have CDL bonuses that we still give out. We have career ladders that are pretty robust over in field operations to be able to get people additional funding on top of whatever the universal funding is. I think their middle management team is really working hard. We did some creative flexibility with scheduling last year, so that their guys only work 4 days a week, not 5 days a week,
Okay.
because of the 35-hour work weeks.
Yes.
So I think there's some things that they're doing. I think that morale's at an all-time high also over there. But they, during emergency situations, they're the ones who have to continue to go out, just like our public safety folks. So we take that seriously.
Yes.
I have one clarification on, it's the account 25,200. It says weed cut and $8,500.
Yep, that it will be underneath housing and community development when we see Muir. It is.
Oh, okay.
Yep,
Sorry.
so we'll get to
Wrong
them.
area. Sorry, guys. Didn't mean to
We
panic.
can test them
Mike
now.
took his
You wanna
glasses
help
off all of a sudden.
You now have to do that account too.
Sorry, Mike.
That's okay. That's all right.
I was in the wrong account, sorry.
Now I know what question you're going to ask, so I'll be prepared.
He's over there working up a reply.
Yeah, put his thinking
Or you can
glasses on.
No, he panicked.
Go ahead.
I'm going to go ahead and move over to street sweeping.
Oh, okay.
6820. That's all of our street sweeping that we do. Same. Nothing major changing in there at all.
What's the number?
Sorry.
6, yeah.
That's why she's right there.
Yep.
Thank you.
I know about her.
She's got them all,
That was a good. Yeah, that came from up here, from the Nugget, man.
she has them all memorized. We quiz
Okay.
her weekly.
What's this, since you were here? What is the schedule for that? Because I get people that ask me like, "Oh, when's my, what's the schedule for street sweeping or when my street is?"
Yes.
Do you have a?
So typically, we try to go behind the trash routes when they pick up trash, and then we focus, especially this time of year in the fall, our heavy tree canopy areas, so that we can collect anything before they hit the storm drains and clog them up too much. But mostly, we follow the trash routes and some of our major corridors that are heavily traveled.
Okay. Thank you.
Next fleet, which is our garage. That is 34064. Yeah, nothing's changing there. Everything's the same. It's not good. Moving on, recycling is 32062. No major change. Next, I'll go over to Marina, which is 47,000, sorry.
You sure you want to talk about that?
Nope. I was gonna let you talk about it, Andy.
So the marina, everyone's favorite asset that we have. There's a bigger conversation that we will have to have, maybe even in a work session,
Not during budget though.
but not in budget.
Okay.
But that account, Marina Fund, is a separate account.
Yes.
It loses money each year. We've looked at it. We've pulled 2 boats out of the river that sunk this past year. There's not much more money we have to be able to pull out of slip rentals and stuff. Our fuel, we need to decide if we're going to continue that or not. So it is something we need to drill down at some point and decide what our future looks like with that. With the adjacent potential development coming online, the Marina Landing project, we were supposed to transition the operations of that over to that project, but now that's still in limbo and 3 years behind schedule. So we're going to have a bigger conversation on what that looks like. But the marina is still a city asset. It is still showing its age, and there will be some large-scale capital investment that will probably have to be done in the next 5 to 10 years in the hundreds of thousands, maybe millions, depending on how much of a replacement we have to do with bulkhead and, finger piers and stuff. So to be continued at a later conversation, but there's not much we can do in this year's budget. There's not really much change. It is kind of is what it is.
Good.
Sorry, that wasn't it. That was.
We're boring him.
Yeah, no. I just thought about all the money that we're going to.
Moving on to the next, no questions. Parks Department, it's 45,000. No major change there as well.
How many couple crew members do you have in the parks? Because it's
8.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah, it's 8. Moving on, Carpentry Department, 35,000. No major change in that division as well. Questions? Good. Last division we have, carpentry, special projects. I'm sorry, I just did that. Parking. Saved the best for last, right? So nothing major change-wise within the budget. Just ongoing with, our upkeep and maintenance and onboarding of our new pay station over there is the biggest news. And the removal of the speed bumps today.
And what was the reason for that? For upcoming events is what I saw there, but what was the,
Construction, upcoming events, things like that.
Okay.
Just to slow down some traffic.
was people zooming?
Yeah,
through there?
yeah.
Just
Zooming. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Any questions about it? That's all our divisions.
With the, I know we have the, is the debt service also under yours, or is that going to be a different conversation, different day? Talking about the current structure?
As far as.
Are you talking about debt service for parking authority?
Yes. Is it under different,
Most of our debt service at that level is usually managed by our finance department, so if we want to drill down on some of that stuff, I'd like to bring Sandy and or Phil back up to the table at some point, and maybe we can prep them and talk about it a little bit more.
let's do that tomorrow. Tomorrow, is that fine?
Because they don't the 70,000,
I didn't think so, but I just
154,
wanted to make-
yeah.
Since it's right
Yes.
under here, we'll talk about the current structure and all that. So if you get some details on that, and I'll send you an email later on.
Okay.
That's all we have.
That's it?
Unfortunately, that's it.
Man, I wanted more. No. Thank you all. Thank you
Thank
for
you
that.
so much.
Appreciate you. And like I said, the work we do, please make sure you trigger that down to all the departments and all the different personnel there.
Thank you,
A
appreciate
lot
it.
of departments to keep.
Yes.